What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday. My name is Ben.
I'm Tim.
And we're back answering questions for the people.
Yeah, we are.
It is episode 77. Whack. That is wild. Today is actually Tuesday, which is not normally the case for us. We usually record it on Monday, but it is.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Is what it is.
It all blurs together at some point.
But we're making this for you guys. Before we do,
Every day can be a Monday if you do it right.
correct. Well, no, that's why would you say that? That's I was going to ask if you had any questions, quibbles, or fashion statement tips, and you opened up with that.
Yeah.
No, but do you? Do you have any fashion statement tips for us this fine Tuesday morning?
Regardless of what people at the Cars and Coffee tell you, chrome is still cool on your hot rod.
Who says it's not?
I've heard it before. I was at a bit of a thing last night looking at this dude's real sweet 3100 Chevrolet, and he had all the chrome accessories, and it was just tasteful.
Yeah.
Lovely baby blue truck. Maybe it was an aqua green. I don't know. But it was cool.
Yeah. Carl Smith, actually.
Carl Smith.
And Brian
I know Carl
Webster
Smith.
from the last two shows. Great guy
Mm-hmm.
from Alabama. Shout out to you, Carl.
Alabama.
He's got chrome under the hood there.
He does.
So.
Oh, yeah, that new intake list. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So. All right. We'll jump right into the questiones. You want to start this time, Tim?
No.
As I usually start?
You can start.
Okay. All right. Neo, a chemist. A new chemist. 74. This tuning guide is going to be awesome.
I agree.
I can't wait. Thanks, Tim, for all of your hard work. Indeed.
I have a rebuttal to that statement.
Yeah.
So, as you guys know, I've been working diligently on these tuning guides. What I'm doing is I am making tuning guides, which you should see definitions come out extremely soon because there's a huge push for them and everybody's requesting them, et cetera, et cetera. But the best part is when I make a tuning guide, I'm making a video to accompany it that's just me talking into a microphone, screen recording, going through the guide and doing the tune that is in the guide in my old Tahoe. And that way you can see the action and then see the result by what's in the manual.
Why do you have to say old Tahoe? Why not just say beautiful Tahoe?
Well, I got to paint it.
Wonderful Tahoe.
It's got some bad paint.
Sure.
And for those of y'all who've seen it at that one show I went to, you'd be surprised how much an old crusty Tahoe gets attention. It's weird, but it's awesome because I mean I've done a lot with that thing. All right, let's see. SB Nova 1. First, thank you for reading my question last week.
You're welcome.
I have some questions about my Killshot 1.
Dun, dun, dun.
There are a few tables that say what parameters
Nice.
does the ECM look for when
Nice.
considering what? How much TPS or how much map change over a period? Well, I'll answer question 1. There's actually a small parameter that gives you how much TPS to be considered into the wide open throttle, usually set around into 60s or so. Because everybody has different throttle linkage, and sometimes you can't get all the way to 80 or 90 or 100 or what have you not. So it may be fully open, but depending on linkage geometry and all kinds of weird stuff, it may be just a little bit funny because maybe you can't open your throttle plates all the way because you run out of pedal because you don't want to take your classic one-off for that vehicle pedal and drill another hole in it to change the geometry. But there is a value in there that changes what it considers wide open throttle, so it has to be above that state with some background map stuff for a certain amount of time, and it says, okay, we're what now? Let's party.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question. 2, I'm running your distributor. I selected magnetic. What coil output dwell should I specify? I wouldn't specify it. There's actually a background table, so I wouldn't deal with that. It normally comes set for like what it says right here, 2.7 milliseconds. But if I select 1D table, it basically defaults to 3 milliseconds at normal operating voltage. That's also true. So the higher the RPM, the lower that dwell time is going to be. So there's I have a chart somewhere for that. But basically at idle, you're chilling at about 3 and some change. And then when you really get it up in the stank numbers of some high RPMs, then it's going to like 1.5 or so. It's really lowering itself. But that's why, like, we have that nice driver in there with the extra big heat sink on it to be able to handle that fast charge. So, yeah, if that makes sense. Because you can set it statically to a certain value, but it'll give you a headache at higher RPMs. If you have a 2.7 millisecond pulse width, you select 1D table, it does scale it appropriately depending on RPMs. I like to just kind of leave it alone because it's we've done the math on that, and it's like, okay, I don't need to do anything. My 350 mild cam 224/230 at 50, 180 cc aluminum heads, 9.5 to 1 compression, ready for a blower. Idles at 60 kPa, misses or flat out sputters under nearly any load. Tried fuel pressure at 58. That's a good one. Via my regulator gauge of 58 to software. I read, then I read and tried 45 and had the same results. 58's great. 58 does a good job. But, with the sputtering and misfiring and stuff like that, I kind of wonder what your actual AFR is doing. You can send a data log to the tech guys just to say, hey,
absolutely,
it's doing this. What do you think? Type stuff, just, the tech support email. And as those guys become available, somebody take a peek at it and have a little look to see, like, oh, hey, by the way, you're just flat running out of fuel. You should probably adjust your offset or go into the tuning software. There's a definitions guide coming soon. I keep saying that because I already wrote the thing. I'm just really eager for it to be finally published. But yeah, you can dash a little fuel in there. You might have too much fuel. It might be one of those things where your wide open throttle acceleration or your enrichment value for that could be just adding that extra 12% of fuel and just giving it 2.5 headaches. If you got no cats, you can just turn that stuff off, just flatten line everything to 100%, and you're fine. That's for like catalyst over temperature enrichment, or COT.
Yeah.
I built my own 2D spark map. That's what I'm talking about. Based off my OEM GMTBI Spark or Chips Spark map.
Wow.
Read in Tuner Pro RT, not a bad one. And I try to get more aggressive Camaro Spark map. Also read via Tuner Pro RT, same result. Interesting. I can hear ping. If I'm too advanced, I'm cautious. I've tried increments up to 5 degrees plus minus in the 70, 80 kPa around 2,000 RPM filled with no change. If you're getting a bit of ping, you still might have a fueling thing going on there. Feels like I'm getting fuel cut. Hey, it says right there, spark cut. Rather violent shudder when that happens. And it's not a random thing. It happens consistently. Okay. Now that sounds like a proper tech problem. That's what I'm talking about. If you got a spark cut going on, we did change some parameters in the actual how the driver works a little bit. As some people with extra spicy motors, every once in a while they run into kind of like a false spark cut, and we changed some stuff around and really pushing that driver to its max, to its thermal limit, under maximum effort, I guess you could say. So, our newer firmware, I'd give that a shot and see if that thing goes away. My truck will start decent, idle all day, rev reasonably, drive okay if I'm light-footed, and totally fine on the factory TBI and a swapped-up TBI kit, and also added, looking for ideas before I pull the Aces distributor spark out of the kill shot equation. If you do pull that distributor and coil out of there, HEI is a way to go. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't spend $700 on somebody else's ignition system. If you decide to get rid of the ACES stuff, HEI is an amazing replacement for if you decide not to go that kind of time and control and set your own arc up. Just saying, just advice as it goes. But yeah, try that new firmware. It should be on the site at this point. I've been playing with some new firmware over the last month or so, and I've been seeing some very pleasing results for these kinds of situations. And it's not just like, oh, there's a problem. No, it's like it depends on combination, depends on how hungry that motor is, depends on a lot of factors. Also, I've seen a thing where different areas have different types of fuel that causes all kinds of different headaches. So I was helping a guy diagnose a thing, and It was in northern Kentucky where the fuel is not so great, and I had brought a gas can with me that had some, weirdly enough, from here in Tennessee, and that problem kind of evened itself out. He had just one cylinder misfire, and we ended up changing his spark plugs and regapping them because the fuel in northern Kentucky is garbage. So
I didn't know it was.
It is. If I fill up in Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
I get a very reasonable 16.8 miles to the gallon. If I
Yeah.
drive back to Kentucky and I fill up at a gas station,
Yep.
not just any gas station, a specific one, I get the worst fuel economy ever. And it pings and carries on because of all just the extra ethanol, weird content. But you'd think ethanol would help that. It, for some reason, doesn't with this fuel. So, kind of a thing. Hopefully that helps you out, SB Nova 1.
I'm really impressed because Tim doesn't normally go for those longer questions. He just went for it.
I'm lazy.
He's not lazy, but
It was
Great job.
multiple questions.
Cool.
So it's like a bunch
Yeah.
of questions.
yeah.
Next.
Jeff Rigged. I think 99 was the year they. Oh my goodness. 99 was the year they changed the. Okay, it's not as bad. 4R70W, but there is a way to use the later ones on the earlier. I don't remember how. I had a 99 truck that when it went out and needed a replacement, being it was a V6, it had a Windsor bolt pattern and used a 95 4R70W. I don't remember how it worked with the 99. Seems like we had to swap the harness inside the trans around or repin the plug in to the new style. It was many years ago. Would you be also looking into the E4OD? I have a 76 LTD that has a 351M engine, and the only OD I can use is the E4OD from the 460 truck with the adapter. Would be interested in the TBI.
Yeah, when we go to Ford stuff, it's going to be like 4R100s, 4R70, and 75W E4OD applications, early and late, of course, for the 4R70W, which is just a better version of an E4OD. But yeah, when we do that, we're going to have a couple different harnesses and a little bit of different strategy in there. But that's not the current hottest thing on my list, but it is something that I'm slowly putting effort into to send information to do a thing. And I'm probably going to repin one of these and do some trickery in the background with the engineering level stuff just to kind of get the general premise of it. But right now I'm building up I do have an E4OD that I'm currently using. So I will be doing some swapping around and manipulating of certain things to get that baseline, like, hey, here's a lot of work done. Let's do some engineering stuff and make things happen. But that's something I'm working on to try to get up and going this year. I'd like to see that roll out. Personal preference, but we'll see what the upper echelon thinks.
I think they like the idea of Ford.
They do want to add it in. It's just that we're faced with a forest of interesting things currently that we're trying to push through the best we can. Everything from education, information, new products, so on and so forth. And sometimes these other things have to take a little bit of a back burner every once in a blue moon, even though it's much needed in the industry and will help sales. Yep. It's a whole different thing, so it's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to read?
Oh, CitationMonkey.
I love that name. That's really cool.
I wonder if he works on airplanes. You a citation guy? I worked on a few. Hit rivets with the best of them. Hey, guys, watch all 75 episodes. Thanks for the info.
No, thank you. Wow. Dedication right there.
I should have enhanced that. And thanks for the info.
Yes.
First question and suggestion. How would a guy/gal go about tuning for fuel economy once the TBI is running good? Is there any insight beyond target freedom ratio units, table/idle cruise watt AFR settings? I recommend a video on this. I do too. Yep. Running the Deuces Wild with a high roller classic and an oddball built/car works great for me. Yeah. So on the Tahoe videos, I kind of want to do a subsection on that after I get done with the tuning videos of like, you know, the hardcore diagnostics. Like I'll unplug things, or I'll just smash a sensor with a hammer, and then we diagnose it through the handheld or the laptop and go and see what we find. Type things, because why not? When it comes to that, I do want to do one that's very dedicated towards the people that want to not only to swap it, not for horsepower and fun pedal stuff, but for I'm going to daily drive this thing to work. I still want to get my 21 miles to the gallon. Like, what does it take? And it does take a bit of mid-map timing. It does take the right air-fuel ratio to do that, because I did the Tahoe and squeezed as much as I could with no torque converter lockup currently, and did very well. If I had a torque converter lockup, it's going to be about 30% more fuel economy out of that setup. So I'm going to end up in right around 20 miles to the gallon by the time I'm done in an OBS Tahoe on a Killshot 1 with everything just kind of pieced together.
Yeah.
Because I just use scraps on all my stuff. I'll end up with an old harness and was like, yeah, what do we do with it? I just stick it in my truck. Kind of like a low-rent refurb, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I guess so. Sweet. Ant-Man 993. Fan light question from last week. It's a jackpot system only using one fan, and the issue is the handheld fan light is not on when the fan is triggered from the AC system. The fan does turn on. Wait.
Yeah,
the fan does turn
I got
on.
you.
Thanks for
I got
everything.
you. So the what flags that light on the jackpot handheld is a logic state internally, a bit of code. So it's not like physically it's seeing that you've tied those two triggers together and the fan comes on with the AC system. It's not indicating your fan 1 is on, because it's not, the fan 1 parameter is not triggering the fan to come on. The AC is. So if you got those two wires tied together, the AC would be flagged, but fan 1 would not be flagged. That makes sense. But what I hear from that, as we develop our things, we're going to be adding more ability and flexibility into our displays. So you'll be able to change that out to where, like, you know, if illuminated, flagged by, etc. type stuff.
That would be sick.
Is this logically not telling it it's on, even though it's on, because it's being
on.
flagged by something else, so it's not going to go bing?
Bryant, sorry, you go.
Room for improvement.
Yeah. I just got excited because I saw this. BryantStilwell says, I also use my spare 5-inch handheld mounts to hold my phone.
Facts.
That's how I record videos in the CUDA.
I love his CUDA. Brian's a good dude. I don't know if there's a bunch of you cats out there that's done some remote tuning with Brian. He's honestly a good guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the few people in the world that has my cell phone number. And that's, if you know me, you know that's a rare thing.
The phone holder, though. I actually, when I get back, I'm going to ask how many people have called in and asked about the phone holder. Just because I want to know.
I like the new holder for the HD handhelds. It has that little thread in the back.
Right.
It's
that's
quite
what
lovely.
I was last week. I was like, I thought those were different, but definitely the older generation handhelds, they do kind of look like phone mounts.
Yeah, they got some phone mount vibes.
But anyway, after you say
Big Bug 9600. General question: is it possible to install an OBD port on the jackpot? Would it be helpful? So on and so forth. No, because it's a different CAN protocol. OBD is just a factory system, standard protocol across the board on a lot of things. There's a J1939 protocol, I think it is. Actually, there's like 5 or 6 that I can think of off the top of my head. But the cool thing is that ours isn't going to be like OBD port compatible as it goes.
Is it possible to do that with Dakota, though? Because I think Dakota can do that.
Dakota can go into the OBD port on your factory system, but it's not going to like make OBD port work on our system. If you have a Dakota digital gauge, you can tie it into your OBD2 port, right? But it's not going to be, it's just going to pull the CAN data from the vehicle, giving you all the parameters on the dash. It's not going to be for what he wants it for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just thinking there for a minute.
Oh, Big Bug, he had a pretty sweet truck, though. I ain't talked to that cat in a minute.
I like the profile picture. DonDotterer.
Oh, yeah, it's the truck I was talking about.
Ligenfelter
Lingenfelter.
has a nice PWM fan controller.
Yeah, they do. They do have a nice PWM fan controller.
Oh, I forgot you said that last week. You were giving
Yeah.
names. You were giving out names.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's true. Benjamin's checking to make sure he turned the sound on for the video.
I got scared there.
We haven't done one mute in a while.
I got terrified there.
No Garage Guy.
Yeah.
So I had a guy ask
Oh, you did
if we're
now.
using the Command Center 2. Can you just return to the surge tank from the throttle body versus the deadhead and return tank? No, it needs to go back to the tank. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a whole situation of it has to return to tank. Otherwise, it's going to backflow, like you said right there, through your mechanical pump. Probably bust that diaphragm and fill your block full of fuel.
Yep.
Or create 1,000 other issues. Or if you got a plastic filter, it likes to pop them things in half. Or you'll find leaks you didn't know you had. Difference between 14 pounds and 50. But yeah, you got to run that thing back to the tank. That way it has a good supply of fuel. Because if you do deadhead it and it doesn't backflow and do a bunch of other awful things, it'll eventually run that surge tank out of fuel faster than it can supply because it has no means of keeping that flow.
Yep.
Which does weird stuff. We tested that, and that's what happened. I actually tested that on Bradley's car.
Yep.
It was a hilarious day.
Yep. All right. Brookgat. Will the
U.S.
shift quick for work with the Killshot 1? Do you wire it when like the sniper or question mark?
Pretty close. Pretty close. Our newer harnesses and ECUs have the TPS output, RPM output that would be quite needed for the US shift setup. If you're using an older generation Killshot 1, you'll have to use an external TPS. You can use a rail-to-rail OP amp. Some people roll the dice with a diode. Sometimes that works. But, yeah, it's fairly straightforward, much like what you've seen in the Holly Sniper setup, because I mean theirs is easy. It's just this wire and that wire. Ours, our newer ones, is the same thing. It's this wire, that wire. So I wouldn't overthink that too much. It's not too bad. But yeah, I haven't used the US shift stuff on with an Aces yet. Don't mean I won't, because I mean it's available. It's a good controller. I like to see more flexibility in that stuff, but what it is.
Sweet. I was going to call it the US shift. I was like, what is the US shift?
Dude, if US shift was watching this, they'll be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Sorry, US shift.
US shift, yeah.
After you, sir.
Southie 318, Mopar guy from the South, I think. Can I use a low dollar motorsports fuel pressure sensor with my Aces EFI? I've done it. I mean, the pressure values may be just a smidge off. It should have the same round 3-pin connector. I've used the $14 ones off of Amazon, but I've seen a high failure rate with those. I like the ones we use here because they go through a different kind of proving. But if you're budget minded and you're going to go with the low dollar one, I don't think you're going to have too much of a nosebleed. Just make sure it's a 0 to 100 psi, because that's what our stuff is generally scaled for on these things.
Yep.
You should be okay.
Sweet.
Or if you got a bunch of money, what's that other brand I had? Oh man, it was ridiculous sensor, and then I found out that the Amazon one I got before we started offering sensors was actually better than it. It was a whole.
So don't do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't want to buy one of ours, I mean, that's an okay option, but price point. Make sure to buy two.
Do those plug into the harness, or are those remotely monitored?
They'll be plugging into the harness. Okay. Yeah, the FPS wire, which
Cool.
you use for oil or fuel, depending on how you're going to use that pressure transducer. I asked them to change it to pressure sensor. That way you can just do it. But doing that, a lot of people is like, what's it for? Like, well, pressure. Was it fuel or oil?
It used to say back in the day, and some of you guys may remember, you guys that have watched since the beginning, it was just called fuel.
Yeah, it was just
back in the day. But anyway.
Robbie's Hobbies 93, OBS 3/4 race cam and polished heads. That's what I'm talking about. Got them spiral cut dimple dot intake ports on your polished heads.
JeffreyRigged. I actually own an OBS Ford Bronco, FYI. So not being anti-Fords or throwing hate at anyone, just stating. Glad y'all read my comment. You almost started a war with some of the stuff I saw in the comment sections in the past one.
Good.
But anyway, NoGarageGuy from
it's car stuff, man.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's good to bicker at your friends. You know, you talk trash about a Camaro guy, you talk
Or-
trash about a Ford
or people
guy,
you don't know on the internet at all.
or just people you don't know on the internet. You know, it takes a lot of energy to troll nowadays. I'm telling you.
No Guy Garage says from last week, yes, it's a 98 Mercury Mountaineer AWD flat tops Eagle rods with TFS Stage 1 cam going into a 1950 Chrysler Windsor two-door coupe. Windsor and Windsor, because what would Carroll Shelby do? Boost, question mark. Anyway, doing the chassis swap now, looking for about 450 to 500 WHP.
Good build. I like to see it. I like to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. It is a Mountaineer, which I've personally owned that one. Mine was in the awfulest beige color. And what also I found out on the Mercury Mountaineer, if you do not rotate your tires, it puts stress on the viscous coupler inside the transfer case, which will eventually blow your front diff apart, and you can't exactly resize that. So, but if you don't care about the all-wheel drive application of it, you can just drop all that stuff out the front. I drove mine two-wheel drive for quite a spell. Sound like nickels in a blender when I picked the thing up.
Touche. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it sounded like a $500 truck.
Fair enough.
I got lucky. I mean, they was actually going for a lot more than that.
Oh, really?
It was really, really clean. Just the guy was done with it. He was like, I don't know what's wrong with it. It won't move. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it won't. All right.
512 Racing?
512 Racing. Two. Don't forget the
two. Hi, I have a Joker Master Kit on my SBC Nova. What's SBC stand for again, Benjamin?
Small block Chevy. Small block Chevy!
It might be small block Chrysler.
Oh, that's fair.
I'm just kidding. It's a Chevy.
Why would you do that to me?
Because I'd never say SBC for a Chrysler. They'd say Mopar or no car. SBC Nova, I'm trying something that maybe you guys can help me out with. I just ordered a Holley High Ram intake to use for the future. Use of an easy to install water to air intercooler. I dig what you're saying now. Is there any foreseen issue of switching to an intake but still using everything else from the Joker kit? I don't really see an issue with that. I mean, it's just air and fuel. I think it'd be cool. And air to water intercooler, that's interesting.
I don't know if I've seen it.
I think you'll be okay. I need to see a couple pictures on that, but I think you'll be all right.
I don't think I've ever seen that on an Aces build. Maybe in the ether of the Facebook group.
Right. SammyRavage. So I got the fans to work with the ECU, but they don't stay on with the engine isn't running and the system's powered up accurate. It needs to see RPMs with our current system. We built that in because in the early days, if something funny was going on, you forgot a key or what have you, not do a thing. We're thinking about moving back towards that fan on, key on situation, depending on temperature. So if you're doing racetrack stuff, you have the opportunity to keep them on. I would like to see in the bigger dashes later an option to just override them things.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Shooting as it goes. But yeah, that is a good thing to remind me of. Thank you so much. I will send that message here in a bit about can we go ahead and just do that.
Yeah. Greg McCall, 9161. LS 6.0, drive-by-wire. Which pedal can you use? Will any GM pedal work like GM 22741, whatever? 6-pin. Is the TAC module required? Does the Aces ECU turn on the alternator through the harness? 4 4-pin plug. How tall is the gambler's edge in the rear? Thanks.
Oh,
It's about
cool.
yay big.
No. Actually, I gave the drawing to the e-commerce guys to put on the website for that, so you should see when the gambler's edge.
E-commerce guy.
You know, it'll have the dimensions for every one of our intakes, like how tall it is, how wide it is, how big the mouth is, etc., etc. When it comes to the GM pedals, you got to be careful with those because some of them work a little differently. Some have built-in IC chips that emulate TPS motion, which gives all aftermarket fuel injection. Even our friends over at the Big H Group, same thing. They work with a lot of things.
Group.
That's true.
That's the first time I've heard it like that.
But the thing is, like, that'll just give it a headache because of how it works. It gets out of range. GM factory stuff has a little bit more allowance for that before it goes into a limp mode or starts freaking out. Our stuff, their stuff, a few other people's stuff don't like it so much. So you need to have one that has 2 actual TPS sensors in it to work a little bit more appropriately. Last 3 digits on that, we an 038. I think I put it in the jackpot manual quite some time ago. For the alternator through 4-pin plug, if you don't have one, get the adapter that plugs into the alternator. It'll be pin number 2 with about 560 or 70 ohms of resistance. You can put it on a power E and wire. The newer ones have a resistance built in and work already. If you plug it in, you realize it's not getting the correct voltage, you can add a resistor in line with it. It'll work just fine. Hopefully that answers the questions.
Yeah. All right. The gambler's edge is like...
It's pretty low profile. It's hard
tall?
to put harness underneath of it. It's the lowest profile one we got
I don't know.
currently.
That's just a guess.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I do like it too. A lot of people like it.
No resonant noise. I mean, it's got good airflow numbers. Justin Richardson, we hooked him up with one of those things. He's got one over there for some gnarly project he's working on. But he said it did really well, as in, mid-range torque. So I love seeing numbers like that. Well, it makes me want to buy one for my personal build, but I'm cheap.
They are clean. Let's see. NoGarageGuy. So I just finished a Killshot Classic with the Command Center 2 for my buddy. Recently passed. He loved cards, and so aces fit the bill. He asked me to get the 68 CUDA running for his wife. Now it runs after being pulled from the woods after 15 years. No tuner will be available where she lives. With the classic self-learn wizard be enough for the long term? And if the battery goes dead, will it have to relearn all over again?
The self-learning, if it's a fairly stock CUDA with not a big nasty motor under the hood, you ought to be doing pretty good on the Wizard. One of the newer systems I just tested last night, went to a little car show thing. We're running only on the Wizard, and we was stomping on it out there on the highway.
Nope.
So
very true.
It was doing pretty good. And if the battery is dead, no, it's going to keep those parameters internal. It has a bit of a RAM inside of it, so it's going to actually keep that information. I haven't seen one lose its programming. I've seen other systems out there in the world lose, kind of like, oh no, my battery went flat, and luckily I saved my tune on a drive, but I haven't seen that with the Asus system yet, and I've really tried.
Yep. Ideally, though, don't hook up the battery to charge while
don't
everything's
jump
still
it
plugged.
off. Don't boost it on anything more than 40 amps.
Yeah.
You'll smoke it.
Yeah.
If you do boost it off, disconnect the battery terminals, charge the battery up, reconnect the thing, start the thing, you're fine.
Yep.
Let's see. Immortal Motors. Oh, is it? No. What? Immortal Motors?
That's what it says.
Yeah. 562. Woo! First.
I've actually been seeing those recently.
Little Ric Flair there for you. I like it. That's what I'm talking about.
CamshaftGarage. Is anyone going to Hot Rod Power Tour that knows about tuning? LS 5.3 jackpot. We're leaving out of Eastern North Carolina. Would love to have someone look at it in Indy if possible.
We are not doing Hot Rod Power Tour. I know a few of the tuners are doing it. There's quite a few people out there actually that does the Aces stuff that'll be out there on Power Tour. Some of them that I've spoke to said they're actually thinking about offering support as well for because it's an opportunity for some of the tuners to actually be out there laying down some fat tunes in the O'Reilly's parking lot making a couple bucks. Most of them get a little bit charitable, so you know how it goes. It is what it is. You're like, I'm going to charge everybody, and then you don't charge nobody, and then somebody buys you barbecue. That's normally what happens to me. And I'm okay with that, too. I'm still supporting the car community.
No, this brings up a very good point, and Tim and I actually were talking about it on the way here. Just overall involvement in shows, and especially even more local shows. Obviously, Hot Rod Power Tour is not local, at least not this year.
Yeah, bombard us with all the small shows.
Yeah.
All the cars and coffees, everything that's relatively within our local stuff that you think we need to show up to or know about. Send us the email of what you got going on.
Yeah.
The same thing like Hot Rod Power Tour. It's not in the cards because of other stuff we have currently going on, but it's not that we didn't want to go. Not like I didn't plan on being there. Just literally we can't fit that in the schedule.
Yep.
Currently.
Yep. And that hopefully goes away as we continue to grow and more people join in and cling on to the Aces brand and banner. But no, but it's
I want to drive my van next year.
That's also true.
My
that
73 van.
But we want to be more involved in those kinds of things because we care about it and because it's needed. That's our demographic. So we want to be there to support you guys as well. But like Tim said, we couldn't, with everything going on right now, we couldn't swing it this year, even though we were hoping to.
Yeah, I mean, we'd always planned on, even for the last 2 years, like the first year we couldn't get a seat. That was a thing. Last year, I don't remember. We was at a different event.
Yeah.
And there was like nobody available. And this is what we're running into this year. We're just going to be at something different, unfortunately. But I think we might have to just actually grow that section and actually put a few people out there to just do shows.
I will say, shameless plug though, we are going to GoodGuys Columbus, and
but it hadn't happened yet already.
No,
I'm not going to
July.
that.
It's in July. And one of the things that we're doing,
I don't think I'm going to that.
Tech Tuesday viewers first, if you made it this far into the video, if you're interested in going to that show, email me a picture of your car, and let me know that you're interested. And Aces is willing to pay and will pay for 15 cars with Aces systems to attend that show.
Yeah, so get on the list if you're going to go take
so
your sweet ride there.
Definitely. If you want to go, reach out to me. We'll pay your way in, the ticket. We'll get you in there.
We're not going to give you gas and hotel room, but we are going to get your way in.
Maybe one day. If I could swing that up.
Maybe one day.
But we will get you in, so you don't have to pay that. So we would love to do that. I haven't done a post or anything about it. It's going to start coming out here soon, but you all are going to see it today. So if you're interested, a little marketing at acesEFI.com. I want a free ticket.
Yeah.
To GoodGuys Columbus. Get me.
That's what I'm talking about.
We'll get it done. We'll get you and your car in there, however that works. I think it's, yeah. All right. Read that. Did we skip any? We did. No Garage Guys. One more. So I have an OBS Chevy named Winston. Nice. It's a 4.3 WT. So
work truck.
So if that's 3/4 of a small block Chevy dies, that makes it a factory 3/4 scam.
This is the most valid point I've seen so far. Yeah. You know, that 4.3 and that OBS work truck right there, the Deuce is Wild does a fine job on that thing.
Very true. Very true.
Done 2 or 3 4.3 so far, just in my afternoons, just, you know, helping a buddy out or what have you not. Man, it's just good. Like the S10, the one tire dumpster fire thing I did. That was pretty epic. That thing will burn a tire for so long. Oh my God.
It's very true. Very true. All right. That will do it, my friend.
I'm glad I could be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming out to the studio as always. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Tech Tuesday. I'm serious about the GoodGuys Columbus thing. Hit me up. We want you.
We want you.
We want you. No. Just we'd like to get some videos and interviews and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, reach out. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Tech Tuesday. If you liked it, leave a like down below. If you have questions about Aces fuel injection or EFI in general, leave a comment down below. We'll do our best to get to it in the next Tech Tuesday video. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode, and we will see all of you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye now.